At the southern tip of Argentina, between the rolling pampas, lakes, and Patagonian ice cap rises a mile-high granite spire called Cerro Torre. It's like an alpinist dream, dauntingly steep from all sides, and it draws climbers from around the globe. It drew me there. My name is Kelly Cordes. And not long ago, some astounding events transpired on Cerro Torre that again raised the question, how far will we go to try to climb something? For this story, you'll need some important history. Over 40 years ago, competition for the first ascent of Cerro Torre was fierce. In 1970, an obsessed climber from Italy named Cesare Maestri hauled up a 300-pound gas-powered compressor and installed some 400 bolts along the mountain's southeast ridge. He completely ignored natural features, forcing his way upward until he retreated just below the summit. Other climbers would later finish it to the top. Maestri's line and tactics became known as the compressor route, and climbers worldwide considered it a sacrilege to Cerro Torre. 4 years later, 1974, 4 rival climbers from Italy's Ragni de Lecco group succeeded in making the peak's true first ascent, climbing the fantastic west face to the summit. Puzzlingly, on the opposite side of the mountain, Maestri's bolts remained. Even more puzzling, over the years, the compressor route became the most popular route on the peak. Not everybody took the compressor route, though. From the first ascent until January 16, 2012, 38 years, 3 new lines were established to Cerro Torre's summit without relying on the compressor route's bolt ladders to reach the top. Patagonia gear testers and ambassadors were involved in all 3 of those ascents. Here are their stories firsthand. We start with Argentine climber Orlando Garibaldi, who's widely considered the world's foremost authority on Patagonia climbing. In November 2005, Garibaldi joined Italian climbers Alessandro Beltrami and Hermano Salvatierra to make the first ascent of El Arca de los Vientos, the first route to summit Cerro Torre from the north.
I first tried Cerro Torre when I was 17 years old, in 1989, via the compressor route. That time we got to 5 pitches from the top, but using the compressor route bolts did not seem like a fair way to climb a mountain, so I lost interest and did not go back. 15 years passed before I was ready to actually try to climb Cerro Torre. One evening in late 2005, Hermano Salvatierra and I fixed our 2 climbing ropes. The next morning, with Alessandro Beltrami, we moved fast, climbing 900 meters on our first day. Having passed all the last signs of previous attempts, on day 2, we negotiated the north face, a granite slab capped by giant mushrooms. And late in the day, we negotiated the mushrooms themselves. These mushrooms are big blobs of unconsolidated frost and have the consistency of cotton candy. They are somewhat frightening to climb. We reached the top of Cerro Torre at 11 p.m. It was dark and it was snowing. It was far from an ideal situation being in the summit in the middle of the night and in bad weather, but we were so content with what we did that we did not have a care in the world.
The next season, Colin Haley and I climbed a line called Los Tiempos Perdidos, which ends at the Col of Hope. It had never been completed to the top, and linked it to the 1974 West Face route, taking it to the summit. Here's Colin.
At the last hour of our trip, we hiked up the Upper Adela Glacier to the base of Cerro Torre's south face, and without hanging around long enough to let any doubts seed, we just attacked. We planned to simulclimb as much as possible, and looking back, I think we might have been a little bit naive as to what we were heading into, but it was awesome, and we went for it. The first half of our climb was kind of classic Chamonix-style ice gullies, which was super cool, especially because it was on the south face of Cerro Torre, which is pretty much one of the most badass faces in the world, even though we were only on the side of it. Arriving at the Col of Hope, we stopped for a couple hours to rest and melt water, and we were looking out to the ice cap to our west, and looking up, the climbing changes dramatically, and it's just prime ice, which forms these crazy globules all over the mountain. It's like what Dr. Seuss does to normal 60-degree ice fields. It's like no other ice climbing we had ever done anywhere before or since. Early on our second day, we stood on the top of Cerro Torre. I mean, after an absolutely fantastic climb, for me, just a complete dream come true that was so surreal. that climb was the type of climb that you wait years for and remember for a long time.
Maybe the idea of fair play was taking hold on Cerro Torre, and the 1974 West Face route was becoming increasingly popular. Here's Garibaldi again.
In late 2008, for the first time ever, Cerro Torre was climbed more times without the compressor route bolt ladders than with them. It seemed to me that finally the entire community had realized that how you climb is far more important than just getting to the top.
Still, an obvious prize remained, the beautiful Southeast Ridge, home to the infamous compressor route, but to climb it fairly, without relying on the bolt ladders. Enter young climbers Hayden Kennedy and Jason Kruk in January 2012. Here's Hayden talking about their historic first fair means ascent of Cerro Torre's Southeast Ridge and their decision to clean over 120 of the bolts on their descent.
We started the route and we climbed the kind of initial 300 meters of ice and mixed to get to the Call of Patience, and we bivvied there actually. So then the next morning we stripped down super light. We got up really early in the morning and started climbing in the dark. The first maybe 14 pitches to get to where the bolts really start is just spectacular climbing. It's unreal granite. It's quite moderate, but really, really good. Unreal. And you're looking at the head wall the entire time too, so it's just like this big looming, monster, because you're like, I don't know if this goes, what's it going to be like up there? But then at the same time, it's cool because you're kind of like right in the present moment. At the head wall, at the 90-meter bolt traverse, when you look up, you see these line of bolts, and that's all you see. But when you can look past that, you see features, you see climbable features, you see the way, the path. I mean, that's what we do as climbers. It just feels good to climb on the spire and, actually climb, like use your hands and feet. Yeah, I mean, we did the whole route in like 13 hours, I think, from the Call of Patience. I mean, it's kind of funny because when I talk about it, I remember certain sections of the climb really well, but it's like a dream when you're talking about it. Like when you're dreaming, you remember these really strange details of the dream, but you don't really remember the entire dream. So I remember on the head wall placing that Red Sea 3, or I remember, following some ice pitch that Jason just led and like looking off into the ice cap and being like, wow, this is unreal. We were talking at the summit about the climb. We were talking about, this thing goes without these bolts. It goes without the bolt ladders. And it's been talked about for 40 years. And all of our heroes have been talking about removing these bolts. By no means are we anywhere near as good climbers as these legends of ours. But we felt that, we needed to restore Cerro Torre to a more natural state. And in my mind, at least, just give it a bit more respect, because I think it deserves a lot of respect. It's all about rising to the occasion of the mountain. And we had it real lucky, but still, that's how the mountains go.
People are still talking about Cerro Torre, as they always have, and the style of climbing, the bolt ladders, and now their removal, which maybe shows the power that something so gorgeous, so natural, and so alluring holds on us as humans. And yeah, climbing is supposed to be fun, but something far beyond simple la fun drives us to approach these gorgeous and formidable places. Perhaps Cerro Torre remains a reminder that how we treat the things that we profess to love says something about who we are.
The mountains don't wait for us. We wait for them.